Simplifying verse 139 of Surah Al-Imran. And do not lose heart or grieve. For you will have the upper hand if you are, truly, believers. Summary of the interpretation of Surah Al-Imran verse 139. This verse was revealed after the Muslims suffered wounds, pain, and the loss of loved ones in the Battle of Uhud. It served as divine consolation and reassurance. The Almighty's statement, "and do not lose heart," does not refer solely to physical weakness resulting from wounds, but also encompasses weakness of resolve, a broken spirit, and a loss of willpower. God does not forbid believers from suffering wounds beyond their control, but rather forbids those wounds from transforming into internal defeat and weakness of heart. Then He the Exalted said, "And do not grieve, because grief, if allowed to fester, can lead to weakness and despair." Therefore, the prohibition against grief came as a protection for hearts against surrender and defeat. Then came the great glad tidings. And you will have the upper hand. This is not merely a description of the situation, but a promise from God for the future, raising the believers' aspirations above the pain of the moment and the wounds of reality. For although the Muslims did not appear victorious on the day of Uhud, God informed them that the ultimate outcome would be theirs, and that they were the followers of the highest path and the noblest goal. Then God linked this promise with His words, "If you are believers," because faith is not merely a word spoken, but rather certainty in God's promise, trust in His word, obedience to His command, and patience in the face of His trials. God linked supremacy to faith, because supremacy begins with believing in the promise before it is witnessed. The true believer does not judge matters solely by their outward appearance, but rather views them in light of God's promise. Victory may appear late, or its causes may be hidden from people, but the believer is certain that what God has revealed is true and will not fail. This is why, when trials intensified for the sincere believers, their certainty increased. The entire verse is an invitation to steadfastness, and not to give in to wounds or sorrows, and a reminder that as long as the believer adheres to his faith and obedience to God and His messenger, the outcome will be his. And that true supremacy begins in the heart as a certainty, before it appears in reality as victory and empowerment.